He begins with the sound of a house pretending to be perfect. The paint on the siding is the color of forgiveness, gentle suburban blue, and the hedges are cut straight as commandments. Behind the doorbell with the cheerful ding, the Harper family keeps a promise they never said aloud, but never dared to break. We don't talk about pain, not with words, not even with eyes. Ellen Harper arranges the fruit bowl as if oranges can hold a marriage together. David Harper reads the paper without turning a page. And June, their 17-year-old daughter, breathes to the rhythm of the house, evenly, carefully, like a swimmer who knows one wrong breath will take in water. It looks like peace. It sounds like kindness. It feels like a hush. But listen closer. There's a second clock in that kitchen, the one inside their chests, measuring the distance between who they are and what they allow themselves to say. The Harper home sits at the edge of town on a street where the mail comes on time and the neighbors wave without stopping. Inside, the family's love is disciplined, polite, devoted to harmony the way some are devoted to prayer. It has rules, even if no one will admit it. The first rule is the most important. When something hurts, smile softer. When something breaks, tidy faster. When a question rises to the throat, drink water. June learned these rules the way she learned the alphabet, without remembering when. This morning, she watches her mother drift through the kitchen like a soft, reliable tide. Ellen's hands are steady around a ceramic mug, but the saucer trembles once on the counter and kisses the surface with a faint porcelain tap. David's eyes lift, and June catches the microsecond of concern he signs to his wife, and then tucks away like a napkin. Big day? She hears herself say. It's the kind of question that means everything and nothing at once. Ellen smiles. It's a beautiful smile, luminous with the courage of a woman who has held a household upright through storms that never made the news. Let's not make it bigger than it is, she says gently. June nods. She has learned that in this house, comfort outranks truth. And yet, she loves them in the bewildered, loyal way a heart loves the hands that cradle it, even when those hands hold too tight. School will be over in a few weeks. Her brother left for college last year and hasn't come back for holidays. He calls sometimes when he knows no one will pick up. There are packages too, boxes that land with quiet thumps on the stoop. They disappear before dinner. No one mentions them. Their absence is tidied like crumbs. There is a room in the Harper home the family calls the quiet room. It started as a joke, an alcove at the top of the stairs, a sanctuary of soft light, a single chair by a window that faces a maple tree. It's where Ellen goes to pray, where David goes to think, where June goes to feel, whatever the day doesn't have space for. The rule in the quiet room is simple. You leave lighter than you came. You do not bring storms into a room that has given you so much sun. One afternoon, June climbs the stairs and pauses at the threshold. The window glows with the kind of light you promise yourself you'll remember. On the chair rests a folded Afghan, the exact weight of comfort. She sits. She wants to ask the room if it has ever told the truth. The truth is not a wrecking ball. It is a door that sticks until someone is brave enough to lean. Later, alone, June wanders into the pantry to steal a cookie and finds a box that isn't food. It's tucked behind sacks of flour, as if sweetness might protect it. The cardboard is scored by travel and time. The tape is carefully layered the way you wrap something you fear will spill out. On top, a familiar handwriting, the same loops and slants that used to label her school lunches. For Mom. Inside, letters, dozens, maybe hundreds, all addressed to her mother, all unopened. The stamps describe other cities. The return address is her brother's. Time slows, a breath catches. June touches the first envelope like it might be warm. Her brother's voice is sealed inside, a bird in a paper cage, beating its wings in a house where birds are meant to be decorations. She takes one letter in her hand and walks it to her mother, who is folding laundry into perfect, quiet squares. Mom, she says, offering it like a fragile thing. These. Ellen looks at the envelope and the smallest flicker crosses her face, a shadow to a cloud only mothers can see. She reaches out and then stops, as if touching would give it permission to speak. Sweetheart, she says, her voice tender and tired in one breath. Some things don't need to be opened. His letters, June answers. She doesn't raise her voice. The house raises the stakes for her. He wrote to you. And I love him, Ellen replies with a smile so soft June wants to lay down in it. We don't have to live inside every ache. We can choose better weather in this house. David hovers at the doorway, a man choosing between walls. He clears his throat. The sound is small, but in the Harper home, small sounds carry. Maybe we could, he begins. Ellen, as if reading his tenderness, lays a hand on the laundry. If we open what hurts, she says, not looking at him, we invite it to stay. The words hang like a chandelier, beautiful and heavy. June feels with a sudden clarity that almost steadies her that her family has not survived by accident. They have survived by ceremony, by editing, by curating their love until it gleams. That night, June lies awake and listens to the house breathe. Pipes hum. The refrigerator grumbles its contentment. Somewhere, her father turns a page at last. Her mother moves through rooms like caretaker of a fragile museum, polishing frames, aligning corners, banishing dust. Love in this house is an archivist. It preserves, it labels, it boxes the past in acid-free paper. What if love was also a locksmith? June thinks of the unopened letters, not as accusations, but as unopened doors. On the other side of each is a room in her brother's life, the part where he learned to cook badly in a dorm kitchen, the part where he started running because it made the loneliness make sense, the part where he failed a class and wanted to be brave enough to say it aloud. She wonders what it costs a heart to keep its doors shut. She rises before dawn. The kitchen is cool. The fruit bowl glows like a still life. She finds a pen. She writes a letter in her own hand and lays it on the table like a lantern. Mom, Dad, I love you. But love should not ask us to pretend. If the storm must come to pass, let it find us together, not each alone in a different room. Then she walks out of the house. Not in anger. In the quiet way a person leaves a room they've outgrown and promises to return with the windows open. Ellen finds the letter with the light. She reads it once and then again, as if the second reading might change the ending. Something tender breaks. It is not loud. It is the kind of break a frozen river makes when spring insists. She sits down. She lets the tears come, not in secret, not behind a door, but here where the fruit bowl still shines and the clock is honest. David descends the stairs, following a gravity he has denied for years. He sees his wife's tears like rare weather. He stands beside her. I don't know how, he says, voice low, but maybe she saved us. Ellen lifts her eyes. The world has not ended. The dishes do not shatter. The roof holds. She nods. The smallest acceptance and reaches for the pantry key. Together, they open the first letter. Their son's words spill out, ordinary and sacred. He writes about an all-night diner where the waitress knows his order. About the ache you feel when your roommate's family sends a care package and your mailbox only holds coupons. About failing and starting again. About missing the quiet of home and fearing the quiet of himself. He writes about a girl who laughed at his jokes and then moved away. He writes about being angry and not knowing where to put it because anger doesn't fit into the frame hung over the mantel. He writes, please write back. Tell me what you feel, not just what you think. Ellen presses the letter to her chest. The gesture is half prayer, half apology. David pulls out a chair. We can write, he says softly. We can start there. Time remembers how to move in that kitchen. The morning grows into a day with errands and neighbours and the normality that used to be camouflage and is now just normal. The difference is subtle and seismic. The air is not thinner for having told the truth. June walks, past the park where kids practice the art of falling off bikes and getting back on, past the library with its flyers for lives, past the church bulletin board that promises hope at 9 and coffee at 10. She is not running away. She is expanding the borders of their home to include the part of her that knows storms can be weathered. She pauses on a bridge. Below, the river carries entire afternoons. She leans into the rail and feels the clean bite of autumn coming. Freedom, she realizes, isn't the absence of restraint. It's the presence of a truth you're not afraid to stand inside. She takes out her phone. Her mother has texted, "We opened the letters. Come home for dinner if you want. If you need more time, we will keep the light on." June smiles, a private light of her own. She turns back toward the blue house. The Harper family gathers at the table. There is spaghetti that sticks to the wall when thrown, and someone laughs when it does. There is a moment, tiny, risky, when David says, I was afraid to open the letters because I thought I'd fail you both if I didn't have answers. And Ellen, with the courage of someone who used to hold the whole world in her hands and is learning to set it down, says, I was afraid love would break if we named what hurt. June listens. She is the listener still, but not the keeper of silences. She says, maybe love breaks when we refuse to let it stretch. After dinner, they climb to the quiet room one by one because some rituals are worth saving. The maple trembles in the window like a living confession. The chair waits. They don't speak for a while. They just share the one thing they used to do separately, breathing. June breaks the silence first. I want to hear his voice, she says. Ellen nods and opens another letter, reading aloud. This one is about a night of rain and the relief that comes from watching a storm spend itself. Halfway through, her voice falters, not from sadness, but from the surprise of feeling something all the way through. When she finishes, they sit with it. Nothing needs fixing. Nothing is neat. No one tidies the edges. The hound's different now, the same but honest. Days become weeks. The letters continue, opened in the kitchen on the porch, sometimes in the car before going inside, just to practice the feeling of not hiding. June writes back to her brother a long letter about the day she almost cried in algebra because the problem on the board felt too much like life, an unknown you can't isolate without first admitting what's missing. Ellen begins to pray differently, not for easy weather, but for sturdy boats. David turns more pages and sometimes stops mid-sentence to say what the words won't. And yet, this is not a story about a house that learns to love mess. The fruit bowl is still arranged, the hedges still straight, the doorbell still cheerful. It is a story about a house that learns love is not the bowl, not the hedge, not the bell. It is the hands that reach. It is the eyes that meet across a table when the truth sits beside them, uninvited and necessary. One night, thunder arrives on schedule. The old fear shows up with it, the urge to smooth, to hush, to promise the sky it will not be allowed to ruin dinner. The power flickers, the room tightens. Ellen looks to June, and June nods toward the window. Let it rain, June says, simple as a door opening. They sit on the floor of the quiet room, the three of them, backs to the wall, legs stretched, watching the world be exactly what it is. Rain insists on the roof. Wind speaks a language older than their promises. The lights go out, and in that brief darkness, no one pretends. In the gentle after, they don't rush to restore what the storm scattered. They just breathe. And in the space where the old script would have had them tidy, a new sentence writes itself. This is the part of the story where someone asks, what changed them? Was it the letters, the river, the storm? The answer is smaller and braver. They changed when they decided love could survive the truth. The Harper home still sits at the edge of town, blue against the forgiving sky. The neighbours still wave, the mail still arrives, sometimes with letters that make hands tremble. And inside, the family still keeps a promise, but it isn't silence, it's presence. They show up for each other where it hurts. They leave the doors ajar. They listen to the clocks in their chests and allow the time they tell to matter. And if you stand on the sidewalk at dusk, you might see it. A light in the quiet room. You can't hear what's being said inside. You don't need to. The house is done pretending.